fishing news is sponsored by these fine partners.
Before the industrial fans were unleashed along the coast, I sneaked out last Thursday for some topwater action with Captain Erwin Heinrich of Scales and Tails out of Twin Lights Marina in Highlands, John DeBona, my co-worker, Tom Lynch, my buddy, and Jerry Gomber of Tsunami Tackle. You know, sometimes the misses, they're just as exciting as the hookups, tossing dock spooks and also tsunami poppers along the flats and edges late day. Still cold last week, early for that off-the-hook topwater action coast-wide, but hopefully we'll see a little weather change for the better this weekend, perhaps warmer temperatures and a hot bite as well. Fingers crossed. I'm Jim Hutchinson with a New Jersey Delaware Bay edition of the Fisherman Magazine. It's May 12th, 2022. And as they said in Jaws, the sun is out, it's a beautiful day, the wind is laid down. You know, amity means friend. Actually, I think the sign outside Creekside Outfitters probably said it best this week. And yeah, the spring nor'easter that we had this past week has really shut down a lot of things. But I do hope we'll find some of those hungry flatties and some hungry stripers out here on the Raritan Bay as well. Yes, I'm here on the Raritan this week, following where I was last Thursday. But this week, our Northeast striped bass study is going off. Thursday, May 12th. You'll see us out there if you're on the Raritan and trying to get back out after the snotty weather we've had. But we are set to deploy 3 mini-pat satellite devices in striped bass this Thursday. If you want more information on that, following along with 3-4 months of migration patterns of these jumbo striped bass, make sure you pick up that May edition of the Fisherman Magazine. You'll get all the info on this exciting research that we're doing with our friends at Gray Fishtag Research. You'll find the May edition in New Jersey, Delaware Bay region. Look for Matt Broderick on the cover of that edition, toting a Fluke away from his kayak. There's a great article, page 48. Well, I say great, I wrote it, so it's up to you to figure it out. But on page 48, you can read all about where we've gone for now and where we're going in the future with this striped bass project. Uncle Fred, it was named in honor of the late, great mentor, friend of mine, friend of everybody, Fred Galafaro. But that fish took a unique trip from Sandy Hook down the Atlantic coast, did pretty much what we expected striped bass to do on that migration, but it stayed a little bit offshore. Did a couple of things. Didn't visit the Delaware Bay, for example, like we used to have in November 15 years ago. It didn't do that. And there were other things that it didn't do as well, but you can read more information again in that May edition. Hey, I'll tell you where I am. I'm in Monmouth County. You see that? You can see the naval pier in the back. If you've ever wondered what it's like to fish on the pier or what it looks like out there, you can do 2 things. You can join the armed services and give to your country and get access to that pier, or pick up the May edition. Sean Moley has a unique spotlight on that pier and some of the fishing that goes on there here in the Northeast and here along the Raritan Bay. Weather-wise, things look like they're finally set to improve in the days ahead. It's beautiful right now, and we may have a little bit of rain showers throughout the weekend, but it is looking a little bit better. We have that small craft warning continuing into the morning of Thursday, May 12th, but winds finally begin to lay down a bit heading into Friday. Before this weekend, we're almost set up in those southern patterns, or those summer patterns, I would say, with the south winds coming ahead for the weekend. But suffice to say, striped bass action continuing to keep rods bent throughout the region before the blow. Some folks got out during the blow and found a little bit of action, but of course things have laid down, and I think we're going to find that those fish are there for the taking wherever you might be in the New Jersey, Delaware Bay region. Jose Charlin from Staten Island, just across the way from me. I could see it from Jersey. He was out in the middle of last week, middle of the outgoing tide, plugged up a personal best, Back Bay plugs, metal lip, senior pikey. Nice job there, Jose. I've also bumped into Lou Hernandez over the weekend. We were both out and about taking care of some of our home goods with our better halves. I bumped into him and he said, hey, take a look at this, shared with me the photo. I was just like a couple of hours short of this. If you saw last week's video forecast, I did it from along Manasquan Inlet. That's where Lou hit this solid 43-incher on a paddle tail that night. So stripers still on the prowl. They're out along the front beaches. I'm getting some really good striped bass reports from the front beaches all along the range, but especially Atlantic and Ocean County. Solid on LBI, according to the reports that I'm getting from the big 3, Surf City Bait and Tackle, Fisherman's Headquarters, and Jingles down at the south end. Andy at Riptide, he said the same thing out in Brigantine. And just across the other side, Noel, over there at One Stop Bait and Tackle, in addition to the good striped bass fishing, also those weakfish are on the prowl, inside of Absecon Inlet as well. Our South Jersey field editor, Anthony Califano, said the opening week of summer flounder action paled in comparison to the stripers being caught from the oceanfront beaches of Atlantic City, Brigantine, Sea Isle City, and also the beaches of Fortescue along the Delaware Bay. Clams and live eels have been responsible for fish to 47 inches out front. That's what Anthony said when compiling this week's reports at thefisherman.com. Delaware Bay, that beachfront bite there at Fortescue Beach, it's still mainly bloodworms, and also up the river as well. Fish reported up to 48 inches. Keep in mind, some of the guys were able to fish out of Fortescue during this nor'east, which made it so difficult here, but some of those guys along Fortescue Beach last week had the wind almost at their back. Anthony's other footnote of interest, drum to 60 pounds, more weakfish to 8 pounds, and a few blues showing up here and there. In fact, with those choppers around, you know what happens. Or perhaps maybe they're going to be feeling a little bit better, a little badder with this warm weather, and we're starting to get some more bites on those bluefish, maybe some blitz conditions. But I will tell you what, you may find yourself reaching into that Fight Club bag to get yourself a new Fight Club because you're missing a tail.
For more than 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to fish bites.
You know, I mentioned the Delaware Bay shorebound striper reports out of Fortescue. It was darn good last week as casters found the wind at their backs, like I said, but still solid fish dropping out of the Delaware still to this day. I heard from Brandon LaHune last week, longtime subscriber of the Fisherman Magazine, plugged up this beautiful spawning class striper in an urban area. It seems like all of our urban areas, right? Raritan and some of the stretches of the Delaware, that's where we're seeing those spawning striped bass. Must be that city nightlife. But it seems that we have a good year for spawning size striped bass in the Delaware River. Hopefully that pans out well for the 2022 Young of the Year class out of the Delaware Bay, and hopefully those spawned out stripers also invade those near shore waters. You know, I think of the Cape May rips in recent years that's just been dead. I'm hoping these fish come out, hug that hook at Cape May, and stay in close to the beaches of Cape May County for a good striper bite during this spring run, which really should continue all the way through June. By the way, the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission met last week. You know, that big debate that we had over the latter part of the winter into the early spring about Amendment 7. Those confusing triggers that were discussed, they are going to be tweaked a little bit. And what I think that means in the future, 2023, 2024, and beyond, is that we can reasonably expect some more regulatory changes on a more regular basis on striped bass. You know, we've had this concept of one size and one bag for multiple years. I have a feeling these triggers are going to result in more immediate actions. However, the good news that came from that meeting, as I understand, the big debate about 2-week rolling closures and the spawning area closures, they fell off the table. They are on the cutting room floor, so hopefully we're safe on that front. I will have more to report on that in the upcoming June edition of the Fisherman Magazine. If you have to go back to the newsstand, you have to do that. But I'm hoping you're a subscriber, because I'll tell you all the benefits of that in just a moment. Regrettably, I do have to add this. One of our strongest votes in New Jersey at the ASMFC is Adam Nowalski, and he's currently in limbo. Understand that every state along the Atlantic coast that's in the ASMFC, they send 3 delegates. Each one of those 3 delegates speaks on behalf of New Jersey, or on behalf of their given state. In New Jersey, right now, we only have 2 delegates. That is because we don't have a legislative rep at the ASMFC in New Jersey, meaning Adam is a proxy to no one. Why is that, you ask? Well, that's thanks to you-know-who for not getting his butt in gear and putting somebody in place that we can have this. Yes, it looks like that's coming in my general direction. On the Fluke front, we haven't really heard much this week. A lot of the boats, of course, tied to the dock because of that foul weather we had all the way through the weekend into the better part of this week. Hopefully your boat made it out well. I do know of a couple of folks that had problems because of the winds, but we are back. The only real reports that I got on fluking in the past several days have been guys that are fishing from shore, trying to find some place in lee of the wind. As a matter of fact, fisherman reader Rich Mulford from Belmar caught this 23-incher in Shark River Wednesday of this week from shore. He was using a jerk shad on a 1/2-ounce jig head. I was at the Hudson River Fishermen's Association earlier this week. Talked to a couple of guys. One guy in particular said, I was fishing the incoming tide behind Barnegat Inlet, behind Island Beach State Park. Didn't get a bite. Well, I'll tell you what, more folks are mentioning that the incoming tide is kind of dead. If you consider that the coastal water temperatures out front on the open ocean were still hovering around 50 degrees as of Wednesday, on that incoming tide, that's pretty cold water. So a lot of times, those summer flounder, they're going to get that lockjaw on the cold incoming. So if you don't think those fluke are there, give it a shot at some of your favorite spots on the outgoing tide when the water's a little bit warmer. You usually find the tail end of the ebb, for example, really good warming temperatures. But again, if the waters are cold, look for some of those shallow spots along the edges, along the clam stakes and some of that shallow stuff. The good news from what I see in my local forecast where I live in northern Ocean County, the nighttime temps seemingly are out of that 40-degree range. I know, I hate to be a jinx. I'm going to knock on this table here. Knock on wood. But we don't seem to see 40s in the forecast at any time in the overnights the next couple of weeks. Maybe I'll actually put my tomatoes out, and hopefully we don't see 40s again until sometime in October. But suffice to say, with all this foul weather, water levels on the Delaware River are way up. Hopefully by the time you see this, they're settling down a bit, because I am finding out that that shad run is still going. For more on that, let's check in with my friend George, the Pocono Outdoors guy.
Well, hey, thanks, Jim. You know, the weather this weekend, I think, looks 100% better than it was last week. I mean, cold, nasty conditions. It was just horrible. But the guys that stuck it out did produce some fish. I'm going to start things off in Delaware River this time, where the shad, well, they continue to run. You know, we got a couple more weeks, 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks left in that shad run. But if you haven't got out on the river yet, it's time to get out and get into those shad. Now, while we're talking about the river, we kept saying these stripers are going to start following those shad up. And here we had Nick Tedeschi on the Delaware above the Tacony Bridge area with a nice 44-inch striper he caught on bloodworm. So thanks to our friends at Sportsmaster Bait and Tackle for sharing that picture. Great fishing down there, guys. If you can't get down the river, you know, you got to get into that while the fishing's hot. That run doesn't last real long. Now, moving over to the lakes a little bit, we have our friend Dan Flores. He told me he's starting to pick up some of these pre-spawn bass, starting to hit good with even in this cold weather, and he was getting them on a jointed Rapala, so some of your action baits are starting to produce as well. Now, this cooler weather, why we have it, people that are really liking that are these trout guys. You know, trout love the cold water, and the action has been really hot. Starting things off with our friend Eric Goodstall. He's been out catching some beautiful wild brown trout, getting them on these gold and silver spinners. So a good tactic there, whether you work in the creeks or even some of these lakes are stocked with browns. They'll be producing for you as well. Also, Jeremy Green and his friend Terry Boos, they were both out catching some trophy rainbow trout out here in some of the local lakes as well. So again, more trout action going hot and heavy there. Tim Loisel also did a beauty of a rainbow, really nice one he got on a pink worm. So lots of artificial baits are working as well. You know, get in those action baits. Those fish are going to be aggressive. And finally, my friend Josh Taylor called me up and says, George, I got in some great walleye. I said, great, Josh, send me a pic. I think I was a little bit late because this is all I got was a picture of a couple fillets. So he said that walleye bite is on. So if you can get out and try for them walleye, especially in the late hours of the late evening or even after dark, those walleye will produce for you as well. All right, guys, get out on the water. Hopefully this weekend's a little bit better. From Pennsylvania, I'm George, your Pocono Outdoors guy.
The Fisherman Magazine's Coastal Kayak Clash is back, and the inclusion of striped bass in that incredible kayak fishing tournament has been a real boon to some folks, especially to this guy, Bob Wagner. He's back on the board for 2022 in the Coastal Kayak Clash, this time with a 38.5-inch striped bass, measured out really nicely, 38.5 inches. That's okay because he let it go. So you can get a 40, you can get a 44. It's length. What you do with it after that, it's up to you. But it is in place. The problem, of course, for Bob and us here in New Jersey is that Justin Oser has already found 2 species, porgy and blackfish, to his liking. So my challenge to New Jersey subscribers and folks who are fishing on a kayak is you got to join the Coastal Kayak Clash and get out here and take some striped bass. Are you in the Coastal Kayak Clash?
I am.
Who's that?
Ken Starr.
Ken Starr?
Stark.
Ken Stark is here. He's taking his kayak now, and I'm going to see him on the Dreamboat leaderboard, on the Coastal Kayak Clash leaderboard next week. Good luck, Ken. Catch him up, my friend. No kayak yet? Like Ken? I've got an idea for you. The folks at Bait and Hook in Sicklerville are raising money for their local police department. It's their annual Cops and Bobbers fishing program. By auctioning off a new canoe, Flint Kayak has a retail value of $1,100. The email contact is on the screen, but you can also find the Bait and Hook folks on their Facebook page. Look it up, go in and bid. I think the minimum bid is $500. You can be rolling your kayak out down to the Raritan Bay in no time at all. Weekend events of note. The 27th annual Berkeley Striper Club Fisherman's Flea Market is being held out at Seaside Park Marina. That's on J Street, right across the street from Grumpy's. That is from 9 to 2. Stop in, gear up with some new plugs before hitting the park on Saturday. Perhaps you're fishing the Governor's Cup upcoming. Keep that in mind. In Brick, you also have a unique little flea market on Saturday from 9 to 3 at the Jersey Coast Shark Anglers headquarters. Fishing gear and household items. This is perfect. A little something for everyone in the family. Maybe I can drag the missus over there. We can look for all kinds of stuff. That's going on Saturday in Brick. And also for salty fly fishermen out at Sandy Hook this weekend, whether you're a new guy, a young guy, male, female, I don't care what you are, new, novice, or an experienced fly caster. The folks at the Hudson River Fishermen's Association have their event, the second annual HRFA Saltwater Fly Derby. That's from 7 a.m. till 11:30 a.m. this Saturday at Sandy Hook. If you want some information, you can contact Miguel at MASARDINAS@yahoo.com. Tell them this Yahoo sent you. Finally, for you subscribers, paid members of the Fisherman Magazine, my family, the Dreamboat Fishing Challenge is underway, and May's fish of the month is Weakfish. This is your opportunity to score. I talked about some of the weak fishing down in South Jersey, Atlantic, and Cape May County. We've had a couple of registered in Ocean County. Some of my favorite weak fishing in years past used to be up here along the Shrewsbury. The Dreamboat Fishing Challenge, it's open to subscribers. You're fishing to win a 23-foot Steiger Craft Miami. Now, I saw an 8-pound weakfish weighed in last week at Off the Hook in Cape May for Cole Blackley. I'm not sure if Cole is a subscriber, but that tide runner right there would have put him on the board for a brand new Dreamboat. Would have been a great qualifier for the Fish of the Month. And of course, we've got other great prizes too, right? Subscribe $29.95. You get all 12 monthly issues delivered. You get digital access to 28 issues a year weekly from now and through all the way through into November. First place is that Steiger 23 Miami, and second place isn't too shabby either. You get an all expense or most expense, some of your expenses paid. You get a trip to Capos, Costa Rica, Marina Pez Vela. You want more on Marina Pez Vela? Want to see what we're missing out on? We're going to leave you again this week with my friend Ben Gilmore from Marina Pez Vela. He'll let us know what we're missing out on. But I will tell you what, we've got Costa Rica-like temperatures on the horizon. It's coming up. So get out, catch them up, and I'll see you again next week right here at thefisherman.com.
Hey guys, and checking in from Marina Pez Vela here in Costa Rica. Right now is the start of our peak wahoo season. Wahoo here run May through August being the best months, with lots of fish in the 20 to 40 pound range, with a few bigger fish available also. Offshore we got some great blue marlin fishing right now, plus sailfish, yellowfin tuna and mahi-mahi. Inshore along the beaches and rocks we got some great snook fishing in the river mouths, plus some big trophy rooster fish, with the next few months being the best time for a really big fish.